Welcome to the Financially Intentional Podcast. I'm super excited to have Dr. Karwanna Irving join us. We are going to be talking about government contracts. This is something I have no area of expertise in. This is not like anything I know about, but am excited to learn about because I know that there's some really good opportunities, especially for people of color, women of color, all those kind of things. But government contracting is something that is trillions of dollars. It's a $1 trillion industry, and it's something that we can take advantage of as small business owners. Hey, Dr. Karwanna, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much.
Of course. And I just want to dive into kind of like what your background is, how you got into government contracting.
Yes, I consider myself to be a veteran business owner because I started like 22 years ago. But when I started my business, I actually just started as a videographer, photographer, so service-based business, trying to figure out how to get consistent, sustainable income, how to actually basically replace the job revenues that I had just quit to start my business venture. So it was a little bit of a journey. About 5 years into the business, I realized that it wasn't really going in the direction that I wanted it to go. Although I had learned how to make some money, it wasn't enough to really sustain my lifestyle. And I probably was working 40 to 50 hour work weeks, really hard chasing customers. And it wasn't until I actually was freelancing for a multi-billionaire that I had met at church, building his portfolio, building his website, and doing photography for him, that I realized that I was just chasing the wrong customer. He actually shared with me the whole concept of government contracts and how, as a woman-owned business, everything that I was doing for him, the government would pay me like 1,000 times over. So that was the introduction, really, for me when it comes to getting started with government contracts.
Oh my God, that's amazing. And so I think like it's one of those things that is just, you don't know about it unless you know about it, right?
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, like literally, because I'm just like, wow. And I know that government contracts, like you said, pay really well, but 1,000 times over, I'm like, okay, we need to get into this like for real. So explain to me, as a small business owner, what kind of government contracts do you have access to?
There's access to all different kinds of contracts. Literally, everything that we consume as individual people, the government also consumes. So if you look at the government as basically buildings, right, made up of individual people, those are bodies. It's people like you and I that are employed, that are running these agencies, and they consume just the same way as a normal person consumes. So when you think of it from that concept, they consume like food, water, coffee. They use paper, pencils, they use the internet, computers, they have tablets and iPhone. So they consume all that stuff, but they also wear clothes and t-shirts and uniforms and all of these other things. And they use services as IT, photography, of course, multimedia communications, public relations. They buy buildings, they sell buildings. So that's all real estate. Literally every type of exchange that you can, put into the marketplace in exchange for $1, you can do that on the government side. Only the checks are bigger because they are the entity that write the checks. And yeah, so basically, if you are in business and you're selling something, there's a great chance that you can also sell it to the government, and it'll basically be 1,000 times over what you're currently getting paid selling it to an individual person.
So what was your first entry into government contracting for your business?
Yeah, for me, like the very first contract that I had landed after figuring out the whole blueprint to how it really works, because it's not an easy thing. It's very complicated, or it could be complex if you don't know what you're doing. And I didn't know what I was doing. So it took me, a couple of years to really make all the mistakes and figure out what was the right way to do it. But the very first contract that I landed, of course, it was $70,000 for 28 days of work. And mind you, those 28 days were just 2 hours a day because I was doing photography. So that's 56 hours. So in one contract, I was already replacing what I was doing as an individual freelancer, working 40 to 50 hour work weeks, 365 days, basically a year, with the exceptions of holidays. So I was able to replace that in a single month, for 56 hours. And so that was my first aha moment. Wow, this is a real thing. And it really does work. And just imagine if I did this again and then again and have contracts simultaneously. And I did that. So I just kind of like went over what I did and just did it again, repeated the same steps. And before I knew it, I was managing like 10 to 12 contracts simultaneously of similar size and larger. So within a short period of time, I was able to go from $30,000 years to like multiple 6-figure months, with government contracts. And yeah. And then for me, it was just like, once I understood how it really works, I was like, wow, this is $1 trillion secret. Cause literally the US government actually spends multiple trillions. In fact, the federal government in 2020 spent over 10 trillion on business products and services. That's just the federal government alone. Mind you, there's the state government and there's local government as well. But $10 trillion and 23% was obligated to be spent with minority-owned and women-owned small business concerns like myself. That was over $2.6 trillion that was on the table. So for everyone that's not doing this, they're missing out on access to multiple trillions of dollars that's on the table. When you have that type of access to capital, or whatever, however you want to look at revenues or potential customers that you can acquire, and you don't take advantage of that, you're literally leaving hundreds of thousands and even millions of dollars per business on the table.
And I love that, because you're telling me like how you were going from 50 to 60-hour work weeks down to like basically a 10-hour work week, and like exponentially growing your money. And I know a lot of us are trying to leave the 9 to 5 to get back some of that time freedom, but open businesses and end up spending so much time working in our business. So inquiring minds want to know, like, how do you qualify for government contracts, qualify your business for government contracts?
So good question, because I designed the perfect experience for this. Is called the GovCon Challenge. So if you go to govconchallenge.com, you can actually get registered. I have a pre-qualifications challenge where I show people all the documents you need to have, how to position yourself as a problem solver to solve the problems that the government are looking to write big checks for, and basically how to market yourself to the government and who to market it to. And so that pre-qualifications process helps you to streamline the process to getting to contracts faster. Once you do that groundwork, everything from there is just, it's a little bit more smooth sailing, especially when you have a step-by-step blueprint. But yeah, so ideally, if you have a business, you have to have all your business documents in order. That is, if you have an LLC, then you need to have your articles of organization. If you have a sole proprietorship, then you need to have your fictitious business name filing. So really those types of documents, all of your legal documents should include like an operations agreement for those who have entities, maybe your articles of organization. I think I said that, but your bylaws, if you have an LLC, you have to have bylaws. If you have like partners, you have to have partnership agreements. If you have stocks, you have to have your stock agreements. So you basically have to really have your documents in order. You do have to either have filed taxes or have filed personal taxes, because of course, in order to do business with the government, they want you to be a taxpayer. So these are taxpayer dollars that they want to give you so that you can continue the circulation of money and pay taxes back into that pool, in that pot. So ideally, if you have your business documents in order, everything else is just really, now how do I refine what I sell in a way that is appealing to the government? And we help you do that in the GovCon Challenge.
So it sounds like there might be a little bit of legwork up front, but once you have kind of this basic foundational structure, you can duplicate this to the contracts that you submit. Like you said, you started with one and then you were just running contracts back to back. And how much time up front do you think most small businesses would have to put into getting those documents together if they don't have it?
It really depends on the person, how organized they are, how quickly they take action, how motivated they are to actually do the work, because it is definitely work up front. And I would say, if you're not the type of person, if you're the type of person that has a job or maybe an employee mindset, you're used to someone giving you a paycheck, it's a whole different way that you respond to when you're a business owner, you have to do all this documentation. So a lot of people, sometimes you find people are like, they're frustrated because it's so much documentation, right? So it all depends. If you're an action taker, it can take you like a week really to just get all your ducks in order, to refine how you position your offer to the government, and to identify what government agencies are literally buying your stuff so you can know strategically who to market marketed to. Aside from like those action takers, I mean, I've seen people take years to do it because they're dragging their feet. So again,
Right.
it all depends on the person, their personality type. Yeah.
So, do businesses have to have any kind of special certifications or licenses? Like I've heard things being thrown
Yeah.
around, like minority business, certified minority, women owned,
Yeah.
and all these different kind of things. Yeah.
Yeah, good question. So you don't have to have any special licenses to do business with the government outside of what your industry is already requiring. For instance, if you're a contractor, your industry is already requiring your general contractor's license. It's the same for the government, right? If you're like a plumber, you're already required to have a certain type of bonding and certain type of licenses for that particular industry. So it's no industry specific requirements. But when it comes to certifications for socioeconomic disadvantages, you're not required to actually have those certifications, but having them actually gives you more leverage. Say, for instance, when I was talking about the USA spending and how 2.6 trillion was on the table on the federal level in 2020, that was based off 26% their spending goal to go to small business concerns according to the Small Business Act of America. And small business concerns are defined as businesses that has under 500 employees. It's defined as women-owned businesses, minority-owned businesses, disadvantaged businesses that are generally making under, on average, 30 million a year on an average of 5 years or so. And like LGBT members that have been disenfranchised, underutilized, as well as veterans and Native Americans. And if you actually identify as a person that's been disenfranchised or socially disadvantaged, in those particular groups, then having your business officially certified under those categories can actually allow you the ability to participate and set aside spending and funding for those business types. Yeah. So, and in addition to that, it allows you to basically have some leverage to work with larger firms that are obligated to utilize those groups. So it definitely is like the ticket to getting there faster.
So it's not a hindrance though for you to get started, but it's something that you would definitely recommend if you fall into one of those groups. Absolutely. For you to obtain in order to get those carved out funds.
Yeah. So when I work with clients, I actually help them. I believe in getting the work done, right? So for me, you might as well just go ahead and get fully optimized so that you're ready and you don't have to get ready in the process and potentially miss out on an opportunity. If you're already a woman in business and you've already basically qualified yourself to do business with the government, but you haven't gotten that certification, and maybe there's a contract exactly for what you do, but you have to be certified. So now you got to go back and wait 45 to 90 days to get certified. And in the meantime, that contract probably came and went, right? So if you're fully optimized and you're ready already, you don't have to get ready. And so that's why I believe in like doing the heavy work up front. And then from there, your focus could be just optimizing the opportunities that are out there, pitching and winning contracts.
That's my motto. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready.
Yes.
So you're a veteran in doing all of these things. And do you do consulting, or is it a course, or how does it work? How do you work with people who are interested in getting government contracts?
Yeah, so great question. So I have a coaching program. So I actually become your coach that walks you through the process of a streamlined blueprint that actually gets you results, right? So you don't have to spend 2 to 3 years trying to figure it out, doing it all wrong, trying to Google and YouTube your way into a process that you never know if you're doing it right or not. So I actually design a whole blueprint where I work with clients over a 90-day period. And within that 90 days, a lot of our clients are already winning contracts. So we have some, even though it's not the norm, but it does happen. We have some that are winning contracts within their first 5 weeks, depending on your work ethic. That could happen for you. We have many that are landing contracts within 3 to 6 months. And that is like the normal average, 3 to 6 months. But these are not like small contracts. These are like $250,000, $500,000, you know what I'm saying? So it's worth the work, you know. You just got to be willing to get through that first 90 days of processing all the paperwork and positioning and basically learning how to basically unlock your codes, which I talk about in my challenge. When I say unlock your codes, I mean, what do you want to sell to the government? What do you currently sell? And how do you identify what the government is buying and match that with what you're selling? So sometimes you got to get out of your own way, be a little bit open-minded, be a little flexible, because if you call it mindset, for instance, if you call it like what you do, mindset coaching, maybe what you're actually coaching people to do is have the mindset of how to spend their money or whatever, how to look at money, right? So that's really actually financial consulting. So on the government side, we actually have to label it what they call it. It's financial consulting. It's not mindset coaching. And so if you're not flexible and open-minded to really making that translation between the two worlds, you can really stay stuck looking on these websites for something that says mindset coaching, and you're never going to see that. Yeah, it's definitely a lot of work, but in the process of doing the work, you become a premium entrepreneur. You become the person that the government really will write a big check for. So that's what it all comes down to.
It's definitely something that'll elevate you from just your normal small business status. But I was thinking, like, is there any particular industry that you see contracts most prevalent in? Is it a service-based business? Is it a product-based business? Which do you see more of?
Yeah, so I do have a book. It's called Don't Duck the Government. They've Got Your Money. It's all about how you can make millions pitching and winning government contracts. And in that book, I also talk about both service-based and product-based businesses. There's room for both, right? So if you're a product-based business, there's opportunities every day to buy products. Like, they're always buying products and they're always buying service. It's not that one is spending more than the other. It's just opportunities everywhere. So if you're a product-based business and you want to sell products to the government, some of the hiccups, especially with small businesses, especially those who are of small business concerns, sometimes you lack capital to be able to operate on that high of a level. So if you see a $250,000 contract to source water bottles to the government, which that's a real example of what I've seen. Do you have 50,000 where you can buy it? And if you don't, that's a problem, right? And so access to capital is a huge hurdle for small businesses. So this is the reason why we don't only just help people understand the process of doing business with the government. We show you need to be building business credit. And that's very key, so that you can leverage those credit lines and those vendor accounts to be able to source something like a $50,000 contracting opportunity to make 500,000. That's like 100%. I don't know what that is. 1,000?
That's 1,000%.
Is that like 1,000% return? Right?
Yes,
so it's like you got to get out of your own way.
return.
And unfortunately, I see a lot of times they're like, oh, I don't have money to get it started. You better figure it out. You better figure it out. If you're really serious about creating wealth with your business or making real money in your business, you got to figure it out. And sometimes that figuring it out is getting outside of your own way and overcoming the obstacles that are in your way, which means that you got to put a little bit of money into building that credit line, right? A little bit of money into fixing your personal credit. All of this stuff works together. But some other ways around for product-based businesses. Okay, you have a product. You're building business credit. In the meantime, you see some opportunities there that you can't participate in because of these hurdles. How about there's a service-based thing that you can do, right? Maybe there's a service-based things that you can do. Clean up a parking lot. $250,000, right? These are real examples that I've seen. Clean up a parking lot for $250,000 and then reinvest that money for your product-based businesses. So there's always ways around. And if you have a service-based business, you can productize as well and actually sell a product to accompany the service that you're delivering. Say, for instance, you have a janitorial cleaning business. You can productize the janitorial supplies that comes along with your janitorial services, right? So you can be doing both simultaneously, really. You just have to make sure that you're really thinking about how am I going to deliver? Because you definitely, once you sign a contract, it's up to you to deliver, because you don't want to get like a bad rep for like taking on something that too much for you to chew, and then you drop the ball. And then they're like, oh, this company right here, they dropped the ball. So you can't do that. But there's opportunities for you to really grow and scale.
So what are some common mistakes that you've seen people make, like just not delivering on the service that you promised? That's a big mistake. But what are some common things people make even before getting contracts that kind of hinder them from getting the contracts?
Like, one of the biggest mistakes is just really not being flexible or open-minded. And what I mean by that is, so I was helping a young lady who had a t-shirt brand. So her t-shirt brand is a specific brand that only means something to her. Say, for example, she had a Boo Boo Kitty t-shirt brand. and you want to sell t-shirts to the government, they're not going to buy your Boo Boo Kitty brand, but they will buy $1 million worth of t-shirts, right? So so basically, because she couldn't sell her brand name, she was just like, this is not something that the government is buying. They are buying it because a t-shirt is a t-shirt. It's just that you got your label on it. They don't want your label on it. You can still sell it. So you really got to get out of your own way and just become the expert in your industry, right? Your industry is clothes and apparel. Because if you can sell a t-shirt, you can sell the pants, you can sell the shoes, you can sell the belt, you can sell the backpack, you can sell the accessories, right? So you really just have to take a step back at exactly what you do and just look at it from a broader scope. What industry are you in? You're in the apparel industry. So that's one of the biggest mistakes I've seen. And then the second biggest mistake is just people trying to figure it out on their own when you're never going to figure it out. That's a huge mistake, because within 6 to 12 months, if you have a blueprint, you could be like $250,000 or $500,000 more. I want to say richer, but that's not a word, but wealthier, right? More wealthier than what you are today. So that's a huge mistake, trying to figure it out and you don't know what to figure out. What are you trying to figure out? You've never done it before, so you don't know what to look for, what to ask for. You don't know what to do. And so that's a very hard thing, like for me, because I see people make that mistake often. And I also see the vision of where they could be this time next year had they not tried to do that.
Is there any type of businesses that you just would not work with, or would you see have not gotten any success with government contracts?
I've actually helped stylists get contracts selling wigs to the government. But because I don't see like opportunities often, I don't really it's not my preference to work with hairstylists, because unless they're also willing to sell hair or beauty supplies. And so that's one of the things. But really, outside of that, I think that if there was a business like, so say like the sex toy industry, like if you're trying to sell sex toys, I'm just like, I can't help you with that. I'm not saying the government don't buy it. They probably do, right? On the military base, they probably do, but I can't really help you with that because it conflicts with with my brand. You know what I'm saying? It conflicts with my brand, and I ain't done enough research in there to really say I can help you get results. And so I only work with people that, like, literally, if you get into my program, it's because I know I can help you, right? We really turn away clients because we don't work with people that we know we can't help, right? It's just it's a waste of our time, waste of your time, you know what I'm saying? So we want to get people to get results.
Well, cheers to not making false promises to people that you know you can't help, because you know what happens out here. You can't help everybody, but it's good to know hey, this probably is not a good fit. So I just wanted to ask that. But I know you also have some quick tips for people to get started in government contracting. Can you share those?
Yeah, so quick tips to getting started with government contracts. Go to govconchallenge.com. Get pre-qualified first, because when you get pre-qualified, it makes it so much easier because you'll have a broader idea or perspective on basically what you need to do to start winning faster. Like not 2 years, 5 years from now, how you can win within your first 6 to 12 months, like lucrative contracts that really will change your life. And so get yourself pre-qualified. That's the best thing that you can do. That's why we pretty much designed that specific experience. But also think a little bit bigger than I'm going to go make some money with the government and I'm just going to ball out and buy cars and this type of stuff. Really, for me, this thing, especially for minority-owned businesses, especially for women, I believe that every woman should already be a millionaire, especially if she has her own business. And there's a way for you to do that. If you do this smart and strategically, $1 million should be your baseline. That should be your bottom, right? And there's enough money on the table for you, each woman in business, to be able to do that. And for me, the bigger picture is, do we have enough women millionaires out there? And if not, I can show you how to do that. But also, do we have enough money going through Black and brown communities? If not, you need to be doing this so that you can actually stimulate the local economy in the Black and brown communities. But mostly I look at this whole government contracting thing. Like when I first got started, I was just like, I just want to make some money, right? I just want to make some money. I want to be able to stay home a little bit and not be working so hard to make the type of money that I make. And I've been able to do that. But over the years, it's developed into more of a wealth creation strategy. So I'm able to not only create generational wealth for myself and my family, but show other people who look like me how to create generational wealth for themselves and their families. And I look at the whole scope of the government being a partner, that, and you being the contractor partner with the government, where you're able to redistribute wealth back into the hands where it actually belongs. And you just got to think a little bit bigger than just making a little bit of money.
I love it. You think it's small. I love it. No, but I wanted to know, with the impending government shutdowns and all that kind of stuff, how do you foresee that impacting people getting government contracts?
It affects people who work jobs. It affects people who depend on, what do you call that, Social Security and welfare and stuff like that. It may affect regular, normal, middle-class people or poverty people who are in poverty. But when it comes to government, the government contracting side, it really does not. And it really kind of depends, right? For me, when there was a shutdown before, normally when those things happen, the government is writing a new bill to solve the problems that they just created because of the shutdown, which means that there's money that's going to be coming down the pipeline for small businesses. And every time they write a bill where there's money attached to it, then that Small Business Act kicks in, where 26% of that bill has to be spent with small business concerns. That's you and me. So for me, I think it's an opportunity. So anytime there's like a shutdown or a crisis or a recession or a pandemic or anything that's happening, those are opportunities for small businesses to participate in the spend that's going to come out of those type of situations.
And I just ask that because I know people have excuses always, just, no, it's probably not a good time to get into it. And I always tell people, you know what, nothing is perfect. Get started and then just see and then figure it out along the way. I like that.
Just make the decision, because people do make excuses, but it's like, for me, I learned a long time ago that those excuses are really your poverty guard that wants to keep you where you are. So you'll say things like, oh, it's a recession, it's not a good time. Based on what? What information? What do you mean it's not a good time? It's a perfect time, because during the COVID pandemic, when a lot of things were shut down, you know what happened? My business 10x, and I was already making multiple six figures a month. It 10x beyond that, right? During the and not only just me, a whole bunch of businesses that were doing business with the government. So when people are making these excuses, they're making it off of their limited information that they know. They don't know what's on the other side. That's why they say that. It's a poverty guard that's basically wants to keep you where you are. Yeah. Make a decision and take action on it. Yes.
It's hard to get people to step outside of their comfort zone, but listen, comfortable often equals broke. So
that's true.
Yeah. Like normal is broke. So you got to be a little bit uncomfortable. You got to step outside of those things that are immediately in front of you and learn new things. And that's why I love having a podcast, because I get to learn what's possible. And I also get to share with others what's possible, because you don't know what you don't know until you're exposed to it. And a lot of information, unfortunately, is gatekept from communities of color or people that look like us. And so I'm committed to sharing those opportunities. So please walk us through what it looks like to work with you.
Yeah. So the prerequisite actually in working with me, preferably is going through the 5-day challenge. So if you go with govcontchallenge.com, you get yourself pre-qualified. And then from there, you can actually apply to work with me inside my 90-day accelerator program, where we help you with your foundation. We help you with your marketing. We help you identify the top 10 agencies that are buying what you're selling. And we help you unlock some of the code. Basically, when I say unlock codes, I mean basically maximize on your invoicing. So for instance, if you're a childcare provider, you provide childcare, maybe you invoice per parent and you actually get paid to watch the kid. But on the government side, we actually help you break out the services to where not only are you getting paid for the daycare, but the after school care, but for the tutoring and for feeding the kids and for whatever else that you're doing. So we help you maximize on your invoicing opportunities. So we'll show you how to do that and some, and then we show you how to basically pitch and respond to the contracting opportunities, help you understand the bidding process. So it's a whole blueprint from even somebody who has absolutely no knowledge. We walk you through from no knowledge all the way to becoming the expert. And then from there, it's really a rinse and repeat. Once you start pitching and winning, it's a rinse and repeat process.
Do you have ongoing support for people that have finished the accelerator?
Yeah, we have ongoing supports. Basically, depending on where you are after the 90 days, we may extend your 90 days to give you additional support. We have a weekly coaching and Q&A call where wherever you are in the training process, if you have questions, if you're stuck on anything, we help you get past that hurdle. And then we have a private Facebook community that you can join where the community is super awesome. So everybody's always sharing wins. They're always helping other people with information as well in there. Just the community, just being in that community with like-minded individuals alone is definitely a plus. But yeah, we have a full support team that you'll get. Like if you're missing in action, which happens, we're not seeing you on a Q&A, we're not seeing you posting, we're not seeing you do the work, then our team will actually be like, hey, what's going on? Do you need support anywhere? What's going on? So there's a level of accountability, although you don't have an accountability coach. There is some level of accountability where we really want to know where you are. We really want to see you take action so that you can get results while you're in our program.
I love it. So let people know where they can find you, where they can sign up for your accelerator, and what's next for you.
Yeah, to follow me on social media, you will go to Karwanna D Speaks on Instagram and Facebook. And where else can you find me? YouTube.com/Karwanna D. I'm there. And again, govconchallenge.com is the prerequisite to applying for my accelerator program. So get yourself registered for the challenge, get pre-qualified, and then you can apply to work with me in our accelerator program.
Sounds like your program is super comprehensive and can help people that you can help, and
Absolutely.
super interesting because I'm like, oh, okay, I probably can do some things there. So
Yes.
I'm always like, how does this work for me in my mind? But yeah, I'll definitely post all those links in the show notes. But I really just wanted to thank you so much. I've learned a lot. Like my mind is really blown right now. Yeah, you are super knowledgeable in the industry, and I know you can help people. So I'm hoping that people will take advantage of this opportunity.
Yes.
If you've ever heard about government contracts or you haven't, there's probably some potential opportunities for you. So don't sleep on it. There's so much more opportunity out there than excuses. So I always encourage people to just take action. And if one thing you take away from this show is just to take that quiz, you're doing exponentially better than the person next to you. So I encourage everybody to step up, take action. And yeah, I love this program, Dr. Karwanna, but thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, this has been awesome.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.